Hello, everybody, and happy holidays. Welcome to Called Up the Prospects podcast, World Junior Preview Special. I'm Chris Peters of FloHockey, joined as always by Cam Robinson of Elite Prospects. And Cam, you are certainly in the holiday spirit. It's also the World Junior spirit because, Boxing Day is not a holiday celebrated in the United States of America the way that it is in other places in the world, but it has certainly become a holiday in the Peters house. So how will the Robinsons be celebrating Boxing Day and after the Christmas holiday?
Yeah, the same way we've been doing it ever since I was a little kid. And you gather around the TV and watch the World Juniors. That's what Boxing Day is all about. We never got in line and try to go get TVs for $50 and get stampeded like some people did. It's always about World Juniors. Maybe there's going to be some rum and eggnog before lunch. We'll see how she goes. I'm feeling a little. I regret that I didn't wear my Grinch sweater or my Team Canada jersey. I should have probably been wearing that. Maybe we'll have to bring that to the juniors for maybe a live show or something. Hey.
Yeah, well, hey, we're going to get to that in a second. Lots of big news to get to today. I'm also wearing my festive Flo red. It's nice that the company colors are holiday colors as well. So this is my Santa-ish outfit that I got going today. And as you can tell, probably, I'm still sick. I was last time not good in the hood here, but getting through it, and certainly, hopefully, we'll be better by December 26th when I plan to be in St. Paul for this. But before we get the show rolling, before we get to all the great stuff we have for you today, we want to pause for a second and say a very special thank you to our sponsor for the last several weeks here, and certainly very excited that they have been on board. But want to let you know this show is brought to you by the World Juniors and Minnesota Sports and Entertainment. World Juniors hits Minnesota this December. 10 nations, one dream, elite hockey you can't miss. World Juniors MN26.com. Get your tickets now. Check that QR code on your screen if you are watching, or hit that link, worldjuniorsmn26.com. But if you thought that was all the news I had for you today on the World Juniors, our friends at Minnesota Sports and Events are also going to have us out at the fan fest that will be attached to the World Junior Championship. So I have some big news, Cam. Are you ready for this? It's
I'm
big.
Very ready.
It's big. It's very big. And this big news is that Called Up for the first time ever will be taped in front of a live audience, and we will do it at the World Junior Fan Fest on January 2nd. Stay tuned for more details, but it is tentatively scheduled right now for 10:30 a.m. That is the day of the quarterfinals. So you'll be able to see me and Cam in the audience. We will be holding our show. We are not going to have it actually live over the air. You will be able to enjoy it just after we complete that show to start your quarterfinal day. But Cam, if anybody ever wanted to disagree with us in person, this is now their opportunity. They have the great chance to do it. So we are hopeful that we'll be able to take questions from the audience and everything else. But Cam, bringing our shenanigans in front of a live audience at the World Juniors, this is a big deal for our show, isn't it?
Absolutely. I've always wanted to be heckled live and in color, that's the dream. It's not as much fun reading it on Twitter and the YouTube comments. Like, get out, come voice your opinions on us, tell us our hats are stupid or our sweatshirts look dumb. And yeah, let's have a good time. Let's talk some hockey.
Yeah, we're going to talk hockey, and we definitely want to talk hockey with you. Of course, we will love to meet you as well and shake your hand and say thanks for listening to this show. The World Junior Fan Fest will be at Grand Casino Arena, at the Expo Center over there. It's attached. You're not going to have to miss any of the action. We'll be nice and early before those quarterfinals begin. So make sure you get your tickets for quarterfinal game day, and then come see us as well over there at the Fan Fest. There's also going to be a really cool Flow Sports booth. I can't release all the details yet on that one because there's going to be some really cool stuff we got going on over there. But make sure, if just going to say, just throwing this out there, if you haven't gotten your hair cut in a little while, maybe wait until that booth is open. We'll have some options for you. And I will not be doing it. But yes, we'll talk about that more as we get through it. But we will have a live show Called Up the Prospects podcast is in your neighborhood, St. Paul. So come on out and see us. All right, Cam, that's the big news for us. Obviously very exciting, but that's not what people came to hear about. They came to hear about what we had to say about this World Junior Championship, and we are ever closer to starting this whole shindig. So I wanted to start it off with some of the storylines that are coming into this, because we'll set it up this way and then we'll talk about the teams individually. But Cam, I mean, like, you come into this, USA is looking to go for an unprecedented three-peat. They've never won the gold on home ice, for one. There have only been two other nations that have won 3 consecutive championships. Soviet Union won the first 4 World Juniors, if you didn't know that. Canada has won 5 straight twice. Now a three-peat is lofty. But what do you think about USA's chances? I mean, I would term them as average, but it's the World Juniors and anything can happen. What do you think we're going to see from Team USA here?
Yeah, they're obviously it's a the decreased product compared to the last 2 years. I think just on personnel, and it starts in the crease. You know, having Trey Augustine back there and Jacob Fowler before that, like they were blessed with some really high end stoppers, and so they're going to need that. They're going to need some guys to step up offensively, maybe to score their way out of trouble. But they still have horses, right? They've still got James Higgins up front. They got Cole Hudson, who I think is probably going to be the best defenseman at this event. You know, when you have guys like that, Teddy Stiga and Cole Iserman, and you have, Will Horkoff is on a bender this year for Michigan. When you have pieces like that, like, you've got a puncher's chance and then some. So no, they're not the favorite, but could they walk out of there with a three-peat and their first gold on home ice? Yeah, absolutely they could. I'm just not laying my money on it right now.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that's the fair way to put it, right? Like, it's like, hey, maybe it's good, maybe it's not. We'll find it out. We'll figure it out. I mean, I think there's a lot of things that we can get cooking there. But another thing, Cam, as I throw it back to you here, is Canada is looking to erase these back-to-back quarterfinal exits. I mean, like, the chip on the shoulder of Canada, it's never been this large. There's only one other time where Canada went 2 straight events without hitting a podium. And last year was on home ice. That was embarrassing enough. And they've been bounced by the Czechs in back-to-back years. I mean, I think there's been a lot of soul searching. I don't know if necessarily what lessons were learned at this point, but at the same time, there's clearly the players that were involved are pretty fired up about it. Is that enough fuel beyond the immense talent that they have this year to kind of push them over the top and make them the favorite that they really appear to be?
Yeah, I didn't predict that they would get bounced in the quarters last year. Or wait, actually, that wasn't that was one of my bold predictions, is that it could happen.
It
same
could
with the year
happen,
before
yeah.
that. It's like, I said it could happen. This year, anything can happen, but I would be surprised, very much surprised. I think that they take their group and then they face, the Swiss in the quarters. And it's like, could the Swiss beat them 2-1, 1-0? Yeah, you get goal lead. But I think that they're gonna have themselves a pretty straight path to at least to the semifinals. And then it's like, now you're running into probably the Americans. And then it's like, yeah, it's a pick 'em at that point. Like, they have the skill to do it. But this team on paper, it's like one of the best collections of talent that they put together in the last couple of decades. Like, I heard one guy say that he thought it was the best team they've ever sent. And, I probably hold that candle for 2005.
Yeah, that
Bergeron,
no thanks.
Crosby, right? Like, that's right. Hard to ever top that
path.
crop. Right. But I mean, I have an article coming out tomorrow morning for Elite Prospects. They're talking about some bold predictions, and some of them aren't even that bold. But I was even saying is that I don't even think they need the NHLers to lead the way for them to win gold. I don't even think they need Michael Misa and Zane Parekh and Harrison Brunick to be their best players, and they can still get gold. So if those guys are playing at the top of their game, like, it should be a cakewalk for them. So I think they're gonna exercise some demons this year, get past the quarters, get into the medals for sure, into those that final day of action. And then we'll just see if they can pull it out, because I love what Kayshawn said the other day, that they're looking to kill some dreams, right? They're looking to break some hearts there in Minnesota, make sure the Americans don't win a gold on their home ice, and they're looking to wreck some people's dreams there. And that's the right attitude to have.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, like, the path to them in the quarterfinals, there's no chance they can play Czechs in the quarterfinals this year. They're in the same bracket because of the host taking the option of splitting USA and Canada. And now Czechia is like, oh, well, now I guess we'll just have to beat them in the prelims. If they want to.
Wise decision to do that too, right? We would have had USA, Sweden, Canada on one side. That would have been nuts.
That would
That
have
would have
been
been nuts
insane.
if
It would have been I love
Yeah,
a group of death though. Give me more good
totally.
games than more bad games. Um
Got to get Russia back
so
in.
yeah, but that's where we're at. So, that'll be interesting. But let's talk about Sweden now, Cam. And Sweden,
Hmm.
the narrative on this team, like I believe that there's a lot there. And then they did play Canada in a pre-tournament game the other night. They won. That was Canada's essentially their final roster, and they beat them.
Hmm.
And I thought that Sweden at times, had a bit more fluidity to their game than Canada did, which, is going to happen at this stage, especially when Sweden's played a bit more together. But loaded forward group, the constant narrative, the storyline every year is, can Sweden win a game that matters? And they've won a
Yeah.
few semifinals. They've gotten to some gold medal games, but they can't get over the hump. Really, only one gold, two gold medals ever, and one. It's been some years now, and you think back now, 2 years ago, USA beats them in their own building, in one of the
Hmm.
greatest atmospheres we've had at the World Juniors, and silence that crowd. How motivated is this Swedish team to get a little payback for those guys? None of those guys were part of this at that time. Now they have a chance to maybe send a message.
Wouldn't that be fun if we saw a rematch in the finals of that Gothenburg one, and then it could be the Swedes' turn to silence, to blow the kiss? Maybe
Yeah,
who's blowing the
blow
kiss on
that
this
kiss.
team? I'm not sure I see a Swede with that type of personality of a Ryan Leonard that's going to be blowing kisses. But maybe they'll surprise us. Like you said, up front, they're loaded. We've talked about Ivar Stenberg, Anton Frondell, Victor Eklund, Vigo Bjork, but they got Eddie Genberg, who like hits like a truck and is also putting up good points in the SHL. They have these depth players as well down their lineup that are going to be able to contribute. Like they have waves of offense, they have size, they have skill. The blue line, I think, is going to have to be by committee, and that's on both
Yes.
sides of the coin, like offensively generating and defensive stopping. It's gonna, I imagine, we're going to see fairly spread, even ice times, at least among the top 4 or 5. And then can you get good goaltending? And through 2 pre-tournament games against Canada, excellent goaltending. So if they can, if both Liv and Love Luve can bring that, then I
Yeah.
think that the Swedes are in an excellent position here to potentially get themselves back to the gold medal game. Just by the way I've kind of drawn it up here, I think they win Group A over the Americans, which means they get to face probably Latvia, on the other side of the coin, in the quarterfinals, and then they've got, we'll see, probably the Czechs in the semi. So it's like their path shouldn't be too difficult as long as they win Group A. They can avoid playing Canada in the semifinals. So it'll be interesting though, because you're right. It's the knock against them forever. They won a million games in round robin play, but they just can't get over the hump on a regular basis. And I don't know if this team can do it, but they certainly have the scoring and the firepower to do it.
Yeah, as I look at it, it's not the best roster that Sweden's ever put
No.
together, but it's certainly one that's capable. And as you mentioned, the size factor of this team, guys like Genborg and Jack Berglund, and guys
Yeah.
on the back end as well, so they have a little bit more. And then you have like dogs like Milton Gastrin and others, that
Yeah.
kind of are going to play really competitive hockey. And Stenberg for that matter, like there's a lot of guys that are
Yeah.
gonna bring the heat in that way. So really excited to see what that comes. And we'll talk more about each of these teams individually here shortly, starting with Canada. But before we get to that, the other kind of thing that's cool that's in the background of this is the 50th anniversary of the World Junior Championship in St. Paul. Murray Williamson, who is a name you may not know, but a legend in USA hockey. This World Juniors was oddly enough ideated by an American. He was also the guy that really spearheaded what is now the modern USHL. And
Mm.
so he had, really become kind of a founding father of America's junior hockey. Because obviously Canada had long established that. I think even the European nations had kind of their U20 ranks and everything else. But the concept of this tournament has now become this beloved annual tradition, not just in Canada. It's grown all over the place. You and I have been events in other countries where the place was packed and people were passionate, and we've seen all sorts of great things. But 50 years, and you think about all the different things that kind of come into play here with the World Juniors and all the great moments that we've had. And how it has really become for North Americans, at least, it is the biggest thing outside of the Olympics. Maybe one day the Four Nations will be played consistently enough to overtake that. But really, outside of the Olympics, this is about as great of international hockey as you can see when you're talking mostly best on best. And obviously, we know Canada is going to be missing some players. But I mean, just think about that, Cam. 50 years for this tournament. And by the way, Murray Williamson was born in Minnesota, so this is now happening in his home state. But just a really remarkable legacy, and the fact that we're going to have the 50th here in the United States is interesting planning, considering where the tournament has really sowed its its roots. But I kind of love it as an American. How do you feel about it, Cam?
I've got no problem with it. I think it's great. I think,
Yeah, it's cool.
I wouldn't have been upset if they gave it to Tampa or Vegas, which we know were among the favorites there to at the finalists at the end of that. I wouldn't complain about that. Get a little palm tree action here and there, but that's okay. No, it's going to be minus 15 and a foot of snow, and that's great hockey weather too. And so we'll sludge our way to the rinks, and I think it's going to be a great tournament. I think the key to any of these tournaments is don't lose the host early, right? That's always a killer for the vibes. And
Right.
have some intense storylines, right? So in Sweden there a couple years ago, we lost Canada early, but it was still an amazing tournament because the Swedes went all the way to the
Yes.
finals. The Americans were good, right? Like that was an exciting event. Last year, Canada gets knocked out early in Canada, sucked the wind right out of the sails there. I felt like for that tournament, and yeah, the Americans still did well, but it just didn't have the same juice. So in this case, we go there. We're media people. We're not there to root for anybody. I'm a Canadian. If I'm going to root for anybody, it's going to be the Canadians. But I'm always rooting for the hosts. I'm always rooting for the hosts to go on at least make it into the semifinals and then have them in that
Yeah.
bronze medal game if worse comes to worse. So that's what I'm looking forward for. I think it's going to be a positive tournament. I think it's going to be well run. I'm a little disappointed that they're not going to feed us in press row there. That's sad, but I guess we'll find some Quiznos or something outside of the rink and sneak her in. But I know I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, and you mentioned it. The forecast for St. Paul for about when the tournament really when the rubber meets the road in this tournament is in the negatives. And I was in Buffalo in 2018, and I don't know that I've ever been colder, but I'm about to find out just how cold I can actually be. So looking forward to that. But that's life, and
That's hockey, baby.
What will be interesting though is in addition to this, like kind of as a storyline, you know, Minnesota, the state of hockey. This is my challenge to you. I know
Mm.
that you guys love your high school hockey, and I know that that's big time. I know the Wild are going really well right now, but your pride is on the line here. To be completely honest with
Yeah.
you, are you the state of hockey? And if
Gonna
I got to
show
be
up.
honest, like if we're seeing half full, USA games, I mean, come on now. Come on now.
Come on.
So, but yeah, I think we'll see. I think people will start rallying around this team. There's a lot of good Minnesota boys on the team too. That usually helps. So yeah, so let's get at it. But let's talk about the teams that are going to compete in this tournament, Cam. Let's talk about the team that's the betting favorite, the odds-on favorite, the best team on paper, and that's pretty much every year. And when you consider the players that they'll be missing, it's even more impressive. How deep this team could have been. Before we get into it, some notes. According to reports, and it sounds like this was confirmed by Hockey Canada as well. Sam Dickinson, Berkeley Catton, not coming. So they are not on the way to the World Juniors. What you see or what you have seen so far is the roster. The only decision that hasn't been made, as far as I know, and actually it sounds like they may not make that decision, is whether or not they're going to keep all three goalies with them.
Mm-hmm.
Joshua Ravensbergen hasn't played yet in any of the pre-tournament games. They have one more. I still think it's like, just take him. I mean, it's as long as he's going to be a good teammate, just take him. Like you get three, take three. But Cam, beyond the guys that they don't have, the guys that they do have, pretty darn good. We've gotten two glimpses of them in pre-tournament games. I've watched both of them. I know you've watched them. They've got guys from the NHL, as you mentioned, Misa Perek, Brunick, all loaned from NHL. They've got draft eligibles. They've got all that. What are you, as we look at this team right now, and what are some of the key strengths that you see for Team Canada as we enter this tournament? And maybe where are some of those areas of concern? We can get to that later about what we've seen from these pre-tournament games. Where are maybe the areas that they're going to have to shore up before the tournament begins?
Yeah. So, on not getting Dickinson and Catton, I will say I checked with Dickinson's people there. He hasn't been told that he's not getting loaned yet. So I know those reports came out yesterday, but it's what we expected, right? Is that it was,
Yeah.
I was told, a good week, 10 days ago that it would be surprising if he was lent. He did struggle in his last outing with San Jose there. And I wondered, I was like, is this going to be enough? If he has a bad game here, are they going to just be like, all right, send him? But yes, so as far as we know, they're not going to get those two players, which isn't a big surprise, which means now the skaters are locked in. I, like you, bring Ravensburg, right? Like, why not? Why not have the third guy in the stands so that if somebody gets injured, boom, he's just right there, ready to go. It's all good. 3 guys at practice. Oh, well, it's fine. You can work it out. Looking at that roster, I think it's pretty safe to assume right now, you've got, it looks like Coots has kind of solidified himself as a top 12 guy. So that leaves Desnoyers and Carter Bear as your 13th forward, battling for that last spot. One guy's going to be in the press box. One guy's going to be the 13th forward. I don't think you're going to go wrong with either. I imagine it's going to be Desnoyers who gets that spot as long as he's healthy. I know he was a little dinged up as well. On the blue line, it's going to be Verhoff as your 8D, as your number 8 in the press box, and Carson Carroll starting out as that 7. Which I think is fine. Now, if we want to talk about, and then George and Ivan Kovac, obviously, as your starters, and we'll see. I think George has the inside track to get the first start and then hold on to it, but they'll probably get both guys starts early. As far as the lineup, though, and where some issues to watch out for, I think on that left side, on the blue line, I think that is ripe for some shifting around as the tournament goes along. They've got Cameron Reed kind of playing as that safety valve for Zane Parekh a little bit. I think that we might actually see Carson Carroll's jump up into that mix as the tournament wears along. Wouldn't surprise me at all to see him on the first pair by the time the medal rounds kick off. I'm also really curious about how they're going to handle their power play. And I was texting with an agent the other night, and we were talking about, like, maybe they need to split up McKenna and Zane Parekh. Maybe they need to be on different power play units. Obviously early pre-tournament games, McKenna hasn't played much since Penn State, ended their season early before the break. Zane was obviously injured, but it just didn't seem like it was clicking. Instead, they moved Misa to the second unit today. And I think that you probably keep Misa and Parekh together. They worked a lot of magic in Saginaw. They have good chemistry. But running 2 equal power play units with Brunick on your second power play, I'm all for it. I'm all for it to have guys, they got Martone and Misa on that second unit now. And, you kind of give them, it's like whoever's hot gets to go up first and maybe gets the first 90 seconds. But that's going to be one to watch because their power play was abysmal in that second game against Sweden. I think that's something to watch. And just kind of the lackadaisical play, a little bit of you want to play loose because that's when you're going to be your most creative. But there was definitely some little we got pre-tournament, but you got to tighten some things up. You got to be able to receive a pass in motion, hold on to it, have that puck stick, gain the zone with possession, then set up. So those type of things that I think they're going to work themselves out. But there is so much skill on this team, and there's only one puck that I am really curious to see how they're going to navigate that on the man advantage so that, like you said last week, the team who has the best power play often wins this event. And so making sure that both those units are clicking is going to be massive for this team.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting because as I looked at him, I was like, gosh, who's the guy that's going to be the trigger man for any of these? Like, who's the guy that's going to be the shooter? Like, you got Brady Martin at the net front. You got, it's just kind of, you look around and you're like, hey, this is so much talent. You can potentially overthink it and start putting guys around in places where, they should fit, but maybe don't. But I think ultimately, that should work itself out. They're going to get another pre-tournament game to really dial that in. But I think that's, I think they're playing Denmark, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting to watch. I mean, the one big movement in terms of their lineup that we've seen as we record this, and we're recording this a couple days before the tournament is due to start, is that they did put Gavin McKenna with Misa and Martone against Sweden in the second game. They have since put Tija Ginla in that spot and have moved McKenna to be on that next group. And that, gets them back with Brady Martin, where they showed some real chemistry and consistency there.
Yeah.
And Michael Hage as well. And really, again, it's very interesting to me that, they have that, and I think it's the correct thing, is that they have a lot of faith in Michael Hage's ability to drive play. And I think that is a really interesting mix with him and McKenna and Martin. So you have Martin to kind of be the gopher for the puck and the other guys to, really make plays. And I think that Martin will probably be a real beneficiary of that. But, I thought it was interesting, though, like you have like this nuclear line or seemingly nuclear line of Misa, McKenna, and Martone, and it didn't really work.
No.
And so, yeah, so that's going to be, like, and that's the thing is like, how much are you forcing McKenna into situations? What if that's not working? Those kinds of things. And unfortunately, Gavin had the own goal on a delayed penalty call, which, was not fun. But I saw your tweet about, Zane Perek coming over and just being like, hey, man, who cares really?
Yeah.
It mattered later, they didn't win the game, but at the same time, it's pre-tournament. So I think that's probably what everybody's saying. But yeah, I mean, and Cam, I think as we've talked about repeatedly, they might not have to outscore their problems. They might be like if we'll see how the left side holds up. But I think having the safety valve of a Carter George or Jack Ivankovic, pretty darn good safety valves. Huge. I think that's, a position of strength for this team. Goaltending is a massive bonus for this Canadian team, which you just can't say often in this tournament.
No, without a doubt. And they have so much talent on this roster, right? Like there's you can run into a little bit of a cold spell and you can move guys around and you can feel pretty good about Cole Baudouin is tearing up junior hockey right now, and he's going to be playing on your third or your fourth line. You can move him up to be a top six winger to go be rambunctious and go cause some headaches out there, mismatches, and create loose pucks for some of your more skilled guys, right? Like you got Braden Coots as your fourth line center. Like, he was playing on the first line wing in that first tournament, pre-tournament game with McKenna there at times. And he looked great on the power play and stuff like that too. So it's like you have all these pieces. Cole Reshny, right? Who's going to probably be a big piece of their PK. Well, he could be a guy on your power play as well too, right? Like right now they've got Jet Luchenko as one of the guys on the half wall. And it's like, I wonder if that'll stick. Yeah. I know he's got the speed to enter the zone, but it's like you've got a whole heck of a lot of guys out there that have a ton of offense too. So compared to last year's team where there wasn't nearly enough skill on it, and then some of the guys just weren't being utilized in the right ways, I think you have way more skill, but you also have more diverse skill that you can use guys in different positions, even ones that maybe aren't like how they're used in junior, and it can still work out just fine.
Yeah, it absolutely can. And man, it is interesting though. Like obviously Dale Hunter, I think, him, Gardner McDougall, you've got some of the great Canadian coaches that you can have. Will they make the adjustments, find the right things? I think that they can. But yeah, some of those early power play looks, it was just like, oh, this is, this could be tough. And we saw USA who sat most of their guys for their power play, watching their game. They've got multiple weapons on multiple lines, and they have a lot of guys that seem to be in the right spots as well. And that is really, special teams has been a huge hallmark of USA's success in the last couple, and they didn't even have Cole Hudson in the game to see what that looked like. But you see guys like Riker Lee getting a look on the power play and making the most of it. So they're going to have some really interesting options there. I want to talk a little bit about Canada's path to gold here too, Cam, because as we talked about the way that the structure is for the event, Canada's in Group B with Finland, Czechia, Denmark, Latvia. I think the top four are pretty easy to predict in that one. With Canada seemingly, shouldn't really have a problem there. On the other side, you would likely run into, say you win Group B, you would probably run into one of Germany, Switzerland, Slovakia. Probably not putting much fear into anybody there. If USA ends up second, that's a very likely semifinal opponent.
Mm-hmm.
The USA, I think Canada's been fine when they haven't played USA in a gold medal game. They haven't beaten them in a gold
Yeah.
medal game, to my knowledge, but have beaten them in not recently at least, and have beaten
I
them
was gonna say
often in the
ever.
semifinal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, like Canada, USA, basically the only times they've only taken silver, I think, twice in the tournament, and yeah, and usually it's been yeah, but like the last several times they played Canada, they won the gold in the final. So it's kind of interesting how it's worked out that way. It's like the later you see Canada, it's typically been better for the US. Um, so yeah, but so in terms of path to gold, like really, I think they're in a fairly, they're in one of the easier groups, I think. Really, they probably won't get challenged. I do think that allows you to kind of build up, but can we be worried that Canada might not face enough adversity early on? Or was the pre-tournament loss to Sweden enough to say, hey guys, this isn't going to be a walk in the park?
I'm not going to put any value into pre-tournament. I don't think that that's going to be the
Yeah,
adversity that a
I
team
agree.
needs. But I do think that Czechia is going to give them a run, right? Like you think it should be fine that they win Group B, but if they lose to the Czechs, and the Czechs are feeling good. I mean, the Finns are going to play them hard too. But I've got it: Canada,
Oh yeah.
Czechia, Finland, Latvia, right in that order, and then Denmark heading to the relegation round. So all of a sudden, like you said, like if you win that, then you're looking good. You're going to play. You're going to have a pretty easy matchup there, probably against the Swiss, maybe the Germans, maybe the Slovaks, and then you're likely to face that tough matchup. But if you don't, now you're probably still playing one of those three teams in the quarters, but now all of a sudden it's like now you have the winner of Group A in the semifinals rather than the loser. So now you probably have Sweden too. So it's like you pick your poison, but you want this team to get its legs under it and be rolling and give itself the best chance that it can to get himself to a gold medal game. And I should also mention too, Canada beat the U.S. in 1997 in the gold medal game. That was Mike York
Oh
was
yeah.
ripping that tournament apart that year. I think that was a little scoring by committee by the Canadians. I got Brad Isbister as the top scorer for the Canadians that year.
Oh, there you go. So the one time we got
Yeah.
one. We got one of them.
We got one.
And yeah. And now we go into now let's talk about the US because
Yeah.
I think, like Canada, they're going to be favored. But the US, I've definitely been they're not as good as the last team. That's not really a fair comparison because last team
Yeah.
was really good and the one before it may have even been better. But now you do return 9 players from last year's team. Although Trevor Connolly did get injured in the pre-tournament game, did not finish the game. I have not
Oh, I
gotten
missed
an
that.
update on his status.
Shoot.
I don't know if that'll keep him out of the tournament. It is a lower body injury,
Mm.
which is what he sustained at the pre-tournament at the summer camp, which kept him out for half the season. So that the Vegas Golden Knights are going to be keeping a close eye and saying, "Hey, wait a second here. He's been hurt twice. Now we need, what are we going to do?" So let's keep an eye on that. But as far as we know right now, they have 9 current players that are going to be able to come back. That is, really Cole Hudson, James Hagans, Max Plant, Teddy Stiga, Adam Kleber, Logan Hensler. You've got a really good mix of players, Connolly and others that can help you here. Now you have to bring in this other group of players that hasn't had that level of success. There it is. But now you've got, like having that group that's done it before, I think helps a ton. So it's going to be very interesting to see what Bob Motzko is able to do with the crew that he has here. As you look at this U.S. lineup, which has not been finalized as we record this, they may not finalize it
Mhm.
until Christmas Eve. Where do you, what are the things that you like, and maybe where are the things where you see a little bit of cause for concern?
Yeah, so they've got a couple D are going to get sent home here. Hey, two D are going
Yeah.
home, and then They already made a goalie
Two
cut, so two
forwards as
more
well.
forwards, I guess, too, as well, too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Connolly, if he's out, I missed that. I just fired his agent a text here to see if we can get an update while we're on air. That would be obviously a big hit, right? Like he's a talented, he's got jam too. Like he's a big time player. But I do, up front, I mentioned their names already. James Hagens, Cole Iserman, Will Horkoff, Riker Lee, who I know Scott Wheeler's been pumping his tires for a while now, but like I love this kid. He can dance out there with the puck. He can get to the net front. Like he does a lot of things. He plays strong defensive hockey too. I think obviously Max Plante, who's ripping it up with Duluth this year. I think he's leading the nation in scoring right. Teddy Stiga is a big game player. Shane Van Sage's going to bring a lot of that physicality and that jam. I mean, like they got some unsung type of guys like Brody Zemer and like LJ Mooney, like little LJ, man, like that guy darts around the ice. I think he's gonna be able to contribute a little bit. So they have a lot of stuff up front. On the blue line, this is Cole Hudson's team. This might be just in general Cole Hudson's team.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Right. I think he's going to be head and shoulders. He's the guy creating everything, and he's going to need to do it more than he did even last year, where he was the guy on the blue line last year too. And that was the team that had Z Bouillon on it as well. So, we're looking for someone else to step up. Is that EJ, right? Emery playing with him, we assume, playing with Hudson. Is that, Chase Reed stepping up as a draft eligible, right? But because behind them, it's like, are we trusting Logan Hensler to be a difference maker? Henry Bustevich, like it's like Adam Kleber, like those guys aren't difference makers in my opinion. So it's like you need another guy to step up and be a difference maker on the blue line. And then you're going to need Nicky Kempf to play above what he normally does. And, he's a 19-year-old, so he's the best bet that they have for it. He's had some good showings internationally for the Americans. But he needs to be one of the, probably 2 or 3 best goaltenders at this event if they actually want to pull this off in three-peat. His numbers at Notre Dame, a little suspect, a little sub 900 here for a couple years. But like I said, U18s, he was very strong. I think he won a gold at the U17s a few years before that. So he's got the chops internationally. So if he can withstand it and they can have a D-men step up, I think this team is going to be good enough to push into that conversation to go for a three-peat.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think there's a lot of things that are going to have to happen and go right, I think, for this team. Some of the things that you mentioned, like who it is that is going to step up, who's going to be that secondary scoring guy, who is going to be, I think they'll have one of the best power plays. I think when you have a guy like a Cole Iserman, a natural scorer on the power play, that's helpful. You have an all-world facilitator in Cole Hudson. You've got James Hagens in a downhill position. You've got Max Plante as a potential bumper guy who is an excellent player in that position. Like that's going to be a great opportunity for you to be to have a separator relative to some of the other teams. And then at 5-on-5, it's going to be about the guys that can play down your lineup. I think Cole McKinney has kind of got the inside track on a 4th line center role. Really like what he brings to the table in that role. Shane Van Shagi, as you mentioned, bringing that physicality, that girth. They do have a couple of forwards to cut. We'll see who that ends up being. They played pretty much everybody that was, kind of in the role. They did not play AJ Spellacy in their first game. The way Bob Motzko was talking about who played and who didn't was guys that maybe had played more recently, and Spellacy had. So I don't think that that's necessarily a bad sign for him. But, a guy who's on the bubble, Will Zellers, goes out and scores 2 goals against Germany. And now all of a sudden you've got decisions to make. Hey, is this guy a second power play option for us? He's been one of the top goal scorers in college hockey through the month of November. Do we ride the hot hand in that regard? Like there's a lot of decisions that have to be made that we can't talk about yet. But the one that is really key is the goaltending situation. I think it was telling. So Brady Noling was not initially invited to camp. He's an underage goalie, but he won the Hlinka Gretzky. He did start the pre-tournament game against Germany. The interesting thing about Noling is that he's a dual citizen, and he's a dual citizen in his U18 season. And so my guess is that they had to get some assurances that he was going to even be eligible for the tournament. I haven't confirmed this, so this is me speculating a little bit, but because he's, Canadian born, but is a dual citizen, has played for the last year and a half in the U.S. I don't know exactly when he established permanent residency in the U.S. That's part of the whole factor of eligibility. All those other things, are important. But now you have a 6'5" goalie who's, only seems to shine in the biggest moments and the biggest games, hasn't had a great season. But now I think you actually have a bit of a safety net in goal if Brady Noling is there, more so than Caleb Heil at this point.
Yeah.
And so, but I do think Caleb Heil is very much an option for them going forward. He also did not play against Germany, but both Noling and Kemp were not really tested in that game. But what I do think is going to be interesting, Cam, is those final decisions on the blue line, because I think there are some tough ones to make. Those final decisions at forward, and they are critical. Like you need everybody to win a World Junior Championship. So I think that this U.S. team, I think they have enough firepower to outscore their problems. If, let's say, Connolly's hurt, that does put a significant damper on your top six, but that does create more opportunity for guys like Riker Lee to play a much more established role on your team. And I think he's more than ready for that role. He was absolutely dancing, as you said, out there. So lots of great things on this USA. Is there a realistic chance for a three-peat? Yes, but again, things have to go right for them, and we'll see if they do. So yeah. So any other final thoughts on this U.S. roster as we're inching closer to it actually being finalized?
I hope they got the swagger. I'm hoping they have some of that swagger
Yes,
that and you look, Cole Hudson, he's got some swagger. Right? He's got some
he's a
swagger.
swag
So
man.
they're going to need to feed. He's a swag man. So they're going to have to feed off of that too, because they don't have Ryan Leonard there this year, or Will Smith or any of those guys that really brought that, or even like McGroarty, like how Cutter Gauthier, like those guys. Hey, quote machines and just firing things up too, right? Spirited. So I hope they have some of that gem because they're going to need it. They're going to need to play with swagger and some confidence and on home ice and defend that too. So yeah, I'm hoping they bring that.
That's a great point. I think swagger, like Brian Leonard had so much of that. Zeev Buyam had so much of that. That was a big factor. You need some of those guys to bring it, and I think they may have a few. Like Cole Iserman he's a little
Swag.
swaggy. He's a little
Yeah.
swaggy. But anyway, all right. So that's it about the U.S. Let's talk a little bit more about the other nations that are going to be really important here to talk about, and the other nations that I think have a realistic chance to take Team USA to try to take them to a different level here, and Team Canada, and that starts with Sweden. It's also Finland. It's also the Czechs. I think that is probably where we need to go next. And we talked about Sweden a little bit off the top. Let's talk about that forward group that they have. Let's talk about what they've got going here in this whole tournament. And to me, it starts with their excellent top six: Ivar Stenberg, Anton Frundell, Victor Eklund. How much is Vigo Bjork going to be in there? How much is some of these guys going? Who are going to be the guys that stir the drink for this team? To me, I think the Swedes have many of the ingredients. They may not have all of the ingredients, but I think they have many of the ingredients to be a contending team. What do you think, Cam?
Yeah, absolutely. And we talked about it already, right? Like you named off those the
Yes.
big horses, right? The first round
Yes.
picks, the projected lottery picks, even Vigo Bjork, we'll see where he ends up, but he's a first rounder coming up anyways. And then, you mentioned Milton Gastrin, right? Eddie Genborg, Jack Berglund, even Wilson
Yeah.
York, who he's playing in the NCAA. Like they have Eric Nilsson, who I'm a big fan of, playing at
Yes.
MSU. Like they've got some players there. Lucas Pettersson, like they have guys that are going to be able to contribute down the lineup as well. So I don't think scoring shouldn't be an issue. Now, Frundell hasn't looked that great in pre-tournament. He's been fine, but he's got to be your best player. I don't think you feel great if Ivar Stenberg's if he's your best player every night. That's great for him. It's great for his draft stock, but you don't really want a draft eligible being your best player every night. You want, especially when you've got some of these other guys. I thought Victor Eklund's been good, but again, like he's got to produce. He's got to be one of the guys leading the charge. Like what did he get last year? 5 or 6 points. Like he was as a
Yeah.
draft eligible. Like he was great in the third line role.
Mm-hmm.
I think Vigo's gonna get his cookies. But they have the horses as long as they're running, then you're gonna be scoring goals. And then it's like we talked about, like the blue line, right? It's just that who's gonna run your top power play, who's going to run your second power play, who's going to be able to drive offense at 5-on-5, who's going to be able to shut down guys when you're playing the Americans, when you're playing the Canadians. And I think they have guys that can do it by committee, but they don't have that stud back there that you're really going to be able to rely on. Like last year, they had ASP and they had Tom Vilander. They could both run, they could run them out there for 20 plus minutes a night, and they're like, we're going to own the shot share. We're going to feel good defensively. Like everything's going to be sitting pretty for us. They don't have those guys this year. So that's where they might get themselves into trouble. And then, we mentioned the goaltending too, right? Like it's good. It's like they don't have a rock star, but Louvet looked really good in his pre-tournament game, and Herman looked really good in his too. So it's like if they play well, this team could absolutely walk away with a gold medal. But it's Sweden. And I'm sorry, I work for Elite Prospects, and it's a Swedish company, and they might knock my paycheck off the table here. They have an issue. They have an issue winning gold at this tournament. So I think it's more likely that they don't medal than they come away with a gold. And that's one of my spicy takes. I think that, right?
That's
I think it's spicy, but man, oh man, how about those bronze medal games though, right? How about those? Like it is hard for teams to get it up for a bronze medal game. And I've got them meeting the Americans in the bronze medal game. And so one team's going to be on home ice and probably have a little bit more reason to really push those buttons and get home with a medal. I've got Sweden coming in fourth.
Yeah. That's another area where USA has when they've seemingly played Sweden in the bronze medal game more recently, they've been the one to come away with the medal. And really, I don't think, like, on New Year's Eve, Sweden's going to play USA. And
be fun.
It is the rivalry that literally no one talks about. But if you were have been following U20 hockey for the last 10 years, it is so often USA and Sweden in a critical game in this. And there have been times where Sweden has won. There have been times, you go back 2 years ago, the World Junior team, they were still smarting from losing the under-18 World Championship to the Swedish team. So that that was a motivating rally cry for this team. So, this is a legitimate rivalry. And I think, to your point, Cam, I do think like having those horses that they have, but like the balance of this forward lineup to me is really where I feel like Sweden may have learned some lessons from the past, and they have found guys that have that two-way capability, that have that jam, that have that dog in them a little bit, that have a little, like Eric Nilsson is not a big man, but he is a feisty player. Milton Gastrin, feisty player. Jack Berglund, physical, heavy player, and can score. And so, those are really good players to have. When it comes to the blue line, I agree with you. I do think Leo Salin Wallenius is going to be a very big factor for this team. I think he's going to play big minutes for them, and I think he's going to do well. But yeah, you look at guys, it's like Sasha Boumediene has to play some of his best hockey. Alphonse Frey has to play some of his best hockey. Victor Johansson has to play some of his best hockey. I mean, and Victor Johansson is one of those guys. He might be a player that you're not as familiar with, but if he has a couple of big games here, you're going to start hearing his name a lot more, because he does have that little bit of dance ability on the blue line there. So there's a couple of guys there that are going to help. But yeah, I mean, it is eventually going to come down to goaltending. Does it hold up for them? Herenstam, I think, is probably the guy that's the most trustworthy in the most situations. But Herman Liv is another guy that has, great pedigree, and on top of it, has done very well. And Mans Goose might end up being the best pro prospect or best NHL prospect of the three of them, and he may not see the ice for the tournament. So kind of an interesting position for them to be in. All right, let's get to Finland now, Cam. And Finland, we've talked about it already. They lost Helenius, not going to have him. That's not good. They do have Mr. Showtime, Petteri Rimpinen. They do have Aaron Kiviharju, the returning captain. They do have, some really good draft eligible guys in Pipparainen and Savanto on their roster. They do have some bigger forwards that can put pucks in the net. Emil Hemming and others.
Yep.
But it always comes down to this, Cam, when we're talking about Finland. It's not about the stars. It's not about the guys it's about the team game. And few teams have been able to play that as well as Finland has over the years. Do they have the horses to be able to contend with the Swedens and the USAs and even the Czechs at this point, who may have the deeper team on paper?
And that's just it, right? Like I've got Finland coming in third in that group, which puts them in a tough spot to find their way through, right? Like it's not going to be easy sledding for this team. I don't think they have the horses to score, which means that they are going to need to win tight checking games, which they do have some guys that can play some tight checking games. But do they have the blue line to do it, right? Like I think they have some forwards that can play it, and like you mentioned, Hemming, he can score some goals for you. It, it it's gonna. I know we took some heat there in the comments last week or the week before that we're not giving Finland enough respect, and it might come across as that. Is that I never discount the Finns because they can absolutely win a 2-1 game. They can win a 3-2 game. They can get into the quarterfinals and make some noise and draw it out. And usually it's on the back of great defense, timely scoring, and good goaltending. I just don't see it with this roster being likely that comes out unless a couple of these younger guys really step up and really jump off the page like a Savanto, right? Like if he can do that and he can be a top front of the lineup player, but I just don't see it happening this year. So I think this is a team that's probably going to get ousted in the quarters. And that's just, probably playing the Americans. And that's just a tough matchup for them.
Yeah, I mean, and better Finnish teams have been ousted in the quarters too. I mean, you think about, what was it in Buffalo? They had, they had Heiskanen, and they actually fired their coach mid-tournament that year. I believe I think that's the year where they fired the coach mid-tournament.
That was hilarious,
right? And they were like, oh my god, because they were, but and I think I mentioned Hemming, I mentioned Julius Miettinen, certainly Atos Koivu has been good for them. They have players that can help you, but yeah,
Van Hanen's been great in the West too, right?
Yep. Yeah,
Van Hanen,
exactly.
Right? And over to Everett, and he's been popping. Like maybe he could put up some points.
And they have a lot of guys playing pro hockey too. Like so, they're playing hard games. They're playing a lot, so they're a hardened team. And so, yeah, I agree with you. Let's not discount Finland, but let's also be realistic about when you lose a big, heavy hitter like Hellenius who can drive play for you, that does significantly hurt your chances. And we're going to talk about the Czechs here, and they just suffered a loss that maybe it's not as big as Hellenius, but it is not helpful to their cause because I think when you are Finland and the Czechs and the Swedes, and now I think even the U.S., like we talk about, you could lose Trevor Connolly, and that's a big piece off of your top six. Like absolutely. You can't afford to lose players. Canada has been able to afford to lose players and get back to it. Most of these other countries, you take a big piece out of the lineup, it significantly deters their chances. But I do want to talk about the Czechs because I'm really fascinated by this team. And Cam, it starts with, the blue line. I think their blue line is going to be really solid. They have a draft eligible Vladimir Drevecki, who I think is going to be a very important player for them. They have Max Shanika. They have Reddy Murka, top 10 pick. They have Adam Juracek, a first rounder. Blue line's awesome. Then you go up front, and the player that I'm talking about that unfortunately is out is Adam Jesho. He was injured his hand, will not play in the tournament as confirmed. That's a 6'5" forward out of your lineup. That hurts, but they got a ton of size up front. They have guys. They have Adam Novotny, who's also draft eligible. There are pieces here. Goaltending's a bit of a mixed bag. That is where I'm a little bit concerned for them because they do not have their number one guy, who's also not well enough to play in the tournament. Beyond that, though, there is a lot to like about this Czech roster, right?
Yes, sir. I think these guys could be silver medalists. I think that this is a team I think that they've got skill throughout their lineup. Like, on the it's a deep team. You named a bunch of guys there, and like I'm a huge Novotny guy. I think Banash is excellent internationally. And then that blue line, right? I think there's a world where Radim Murtka is the top defender at this event, right? Like he is a horse. He can play a ton of minutes. Adam Juracek has been lighting it up. Like they've got Sanika and they've got Thomas Galvis and they have a lot of depth on their blue line too. And like you said, in net, that's the question mark. And so I think that they're going to be able to overcome if the goaltending's not great, but if it's not at least above average, that's gonna kill their chances of probably getting into a gold medal game. But if they can get above average goaltending in the big moments, I honestly think that this is a team that could knock off a Sweden in the semifinals and go and get themselves into a gold medal game. That could push Canada in Pool B during round robin play. That they have that kind of talent, and they've been coming, right? So is it 2 straight silvers for them? No, they've medaled in 3 straight. They've medaled in 3 straight, anyways. And so
Yeah,
they're
so they won
coming up,
bronze last
right?
year. Yeah.
They won bronze.
Mhm.
Thank you. Sorry, that was Finns. Finns
Yes.
who lost. So they just continue to come up, right? And the Holenka, they've been good, and the U18s they've been pushing. It's been a steady progression for this age group and the one right before it. And I think that they're ready to push into that conversation again to go for a gold medal. Like on paper, they're very strong, but I just like the balance. I like the balance throughout their lineup. And yeah, losing Yeko, that hurts. He's a big power forward. But I think they have enough to sustain that loss too.
Yeah, man, the depth is really the only concern I have is the goaltending. Like it really
Yeah.
is because I mean I think you look at up and down that roster and you're like, wow, there is a lot of talent there. They're going to be one of the biggest teams in the tournament as well,
Yeah.
size wise,
Yeah.
like by a
Nesterson,
significant margin.
huge.
I mean,
Right.
yeah. I mean, I didn't
Yeah.
even mention Nestersil, who I
Right?
think has
Neither did
been
I.
one of the best freshmen in college hockey. Like it's like
Yeah.
he's like, and he's 6'6", and they got Novotny who's 6'1" and the thickest human at the age of
Fire hydrant.
18. It's
Yeah.
like, it's like he's like built like Yager at 18. It's like, what is going on here? And you've got, and Banak is a bit of a, he's a stocky young man as well. He kind of gets
Mhm.
after it. So this is and Czechia, as you mentioned, they've been building towards this. I mean, I go back to Halifax and just the fact that they were a goal away. And really
Yeah.
it was David Juracek and David Spacek playing a billion minutes against Canada. They don't even have to do that where they have to overly lean on Murtka. They have enough guys where they can say, hey, we're going to roll. We're going to roll and we're going to get our guys out there. We're going to get them in really good positions. Really fascinating. Like, yeah, I mean, could they be a silver medalist team? Absolutely. I mean, I don't see it's just they do have to get above average goaltending, and that's where I'm
Yeah.
not necessarily certain that they'll get it. But boy, so yeah, so if you're a fan of dark horses for the last several years, Czechs have always been a pretty good one to keep an eye on for those of you that like that sort of thing. Not us though, Cam, because we are certainly on the straight and narrow here of covering this
Course.
tournament. Yes,
Course.
but so I didn't include this team. We're going to move to our next group of teams, but I didn't include this team in the group of Sweden, Finland, and Czechia, just more out of respect for Sweden. But I do think that Latvia is one of those teams that has every opportunity to be an absolute spoiler in this thing, where they can ruin somebody's day, and they could do it as soon as the preliminary round. It could be Finland, it could be Czechia, it could be Canada. We saw it last year. I mean,
Yeah.
they do have differences from last year's roster, but they have a ton of returning players, and they have one of the tournament's best talents on D and Albert Smits, who we talked about at length. Cam, let's talk Latvia. I mean, what do you like about this group, and what should we like about this group? Because I mean, there is a lot going on here that's a real positive for this country, and I'm excited to see how it all pans out here.
These guys, we talk about committee. They are a team by committee, and it's every year. And like you said, they're going to have Albert Smits on this team, and he is going to be the horse on the blue line. And I do think he's going to be a household name at the end of this tournament. But it's like I put them fourth in Group B. Like they could end up third. Like they could jump over a team for sure. They could cause some noise. I just think that they are such a hard out, and they play such a strong system game. And like they took Sweden. It was 3-2 in the quarters last year too, right? Like they got outshot like 60-15, but then they got the goaltending that they needed. But they just hang in there long enough to put a scare into these big teams, and I think they're going to do it again. I think that they're going to show up, and they're probably going to give Sweden another run for their money in the quarterfinals. They're just going to be a tough out, and I really love rooting for them. And when you talk to these kids too, they're just thrilled to be there. They love the moment. I really enjoy even going back, years and years ago too, like when they were usually in kind of that relegation zone, and they had their one good game against the Germans or against the Danes or something like that. And just like everybody's behind them. It's an easy country to root for. And so again, we don't root for teams. We play it straight, but I might root a little bit for Latvia.
Yeah. I mean, they are lovable underdogs, are they not? I mean, like
right?
last year Leonards Feldbergs became
Oof.
like, a national hero
Yeah.
in Latvia. I mean, like the celebrations when they beat Canada in the shootout last year were out of control. No Feldbergs this year, sadly. No Eric
Yeah.
Smatejko this year. But
Yeah.
here's some names to keep an eye on if you're going to be watching. Oliver Zmernieks plays St. John Sea Dogs in the queue. He was on the
Good
team
player.
last year. Rudolph Spurs-Counts, who plays for the Muskegon Lumberjacks, was on the team last year. These were guys that were on the team as 16 and 17-year-olds, guys that have been there. As we mentioned, Albert Smits, Daryl Ulanskis, who was on the team last year. A lot of these guys are coming back. And we actually thought that they were ahead of schedule last year, Cam. We were
Yeah.
like, this is a team that is clearly thinking about St. Paul with the roster with what did they have, 5 or 6 double underagers on their roster? It was
Hmm.
crazy. And they still competed. And so it's going to be guys like Murnieks to step into that Matejko role and to be one of those guys. These guys play all over. The big difference with Latvia is their players have not kind of consolidated to one place. They're all over the map. It's one of the countries where you're going to see the most amount of players spread out across leagues. And many different levels. You got guys from the BCHL, you've got guys from the USHL, WHL, QMJHL, Finland, all over the place. They're just, and so they get together and they get so fired up. And so I think I'm really excited to see what they bring to the table. And yeah, so if you're looking for the underdogs that you're going to enjoy, Latvia is a pretty good bet. But yes, we will have to see what their goaltending looks like, because that is an area
Hmm.
that is not as shored up right now. They do have one drafted player, Vec Vanags, who has had an okay year in the queue this season with Newfoundland. So very interested to look at. So usually when we talk about Czechia, the next logical team is to talk about Slovakia. But Cam, this year, Slovakia, very light on NHL draft picks. Good on
Hmm.
goaltending, like they usually are. I think Michael Pradell is going to be a very good one. They have an all USHL goaltending tandem or trio with Alan Lendak from Fargo and Roberto Leonardo Henriquez also on their mix there. I think Pradell will be the number one guy. Is there enough here for Slovakia to potentially spoil someone's tournament? I mean, they are in the group with USA. They have had weaker teams in years past and have found ways to surprise people. What do we think about this year's team?
Yeah, they could surprise. They could have their moment. They've got Jan Chauvin and Shrenko and Paul Basel and these guys, Tobias Tomik, I should say. It's light. It is light. I think they're going to be up against it. Just pulling it up here, I've got them third in Group A, but that's not saying much because that's putting ahead of the Swiss and the Germans. So I don't think they're going to be a threat. I think that that's going to be a nice matchup for probably Czechia in the quarterfinals. Maybe Canada if Czechia surprises. But no, I just don't think they have, like you said, the talent or the depth, and probably not even the high end goaltending that they're going to need to really put a scare into anybody. And we could argue the same thing from Latvia, but I just feel like that group has more depth and they do have a little bit more higher end talent in some positions than the Slovaks do. But it's been kind of a down cycle now for the Slovaks for a little while. They've been kind of just inching down the depth chart, the power rankings, and I don't think this is the year that they make a comeback.
No, I'm with you on that one. Last year at the World Juniors, they won 2 of their games, ended up losing in the quarterfinals. And yeah, so I'm with you on that. I think Pradell is probably, their saving grace and could be a guy that steals a game for them. They have some intriguing guys on their roster. Their captain's going to be Tobias Pitka, who plays for Northern Michigan in the CCHA and is one of their biggest players. They don't have great size as a group. They don't have a lot of experience as a group. Although Luka Radivojevic will be playing in what will probably feel like his 100th World Junior Championship, and he still has eligibility left after this year. And fun fact about Luka Radivojevic, if you're a person that his dad is Branko Radivojevic, and Luka was actually born in Edina, Minnesota, of all places. So he'll be playing
Homecoming.
in his birth state. So shout out to Luca, who's currently playing at Boston College. But yeah, 18 years old, and he still has one more World Juniors left in him. Is now, he's always been one of those guys, never drafted, but he has played in 2 previous World Juniors. So he's one of those guys that could potentially play in 4 World Junior Championships before he's
I
done.
was gonna say, what's the record? What's the record for most games played? That could have been a good called up question.
That could have been a great called up challenge. And I would have failed miserably at that because I don't have an answer.
Me too.
For you
I'm pulling it up on EP right now. Pulling it up.
I feel like there's somebody that played in 5 of them, but which seems absurd to me.
No, we got 4. 4 is the most. We got a whole bunch of guys hitting 4 here. I got 10 guys who played in 4 tournaments. If you can name one of them, you just get the win for the called up challenge today. Give me
There's
one.
No. I'll just guess one of the Kostitsins.
Andre Kostitsin. There you go. Number 7 on
All
the
right,
list.
I got one.
There you got one.
I knew that they I think Belarus. Yeah, see, Belarus not allowed to play anymore in the
well
the
done. You got him.
Thank you.
Number 1 on the
list.
Wow.
All right. Cool.
Johan Hescht.
Oh wow.
Johan Hescht. Yeah, leads the way with 26. Oh, sorry, tied with Bjorn Christian, a Swiss. There you go.
Wow.
Michael Frolik is on that list. Yeah, and there you go. There you go.
Well,
good times.
And with all due respect to Switzerland, Germany, and Denmark, it's going to be tough. But I will say there is something to watch on Switzerland. There's something there. Yeah. They have a number of draft picks. That Leon Mugli was loaned back. He was with the Hershey Bears all year, but hadn't played because of injury. They have 2 drafted goalies. So I think they got a good chance. But I think the guy that we're all going to be watching is probably Jonah Neunschwander, who is a 16-year-old player, but he is a 6'3" 16-year-old currently playing in the Swiss National League. 6 points in 18 games for Jonah Neunschwander. Hasn't really pointed up internationally in the opportunities he's had, but he did play on the team last year. He's the great hope for Switzerland. Of these teams, Switzerland, Germany, Denmark, who do you think gets relegated? Because it's going to be one of these 3.
Yeah, I'm going with Denmark.
I'm with you on that one. Denmark, welcome back. Goodbye. Yeah. So, but we'll see. And if you're listening to this in Denmark and we shortchanged you, I'm sorry. You can come yell at us at the live podcast in your best Danish accent. All right, Cam, let's move on. A lot of great teams, a lot of great players, but only 3 are going to be recognized throughout the history books as the Directorate Award winners for this tournament. And so I wanted to give us a chance to make some predictions here. We're going to start it off with the top goalie. I'm going to let you go first. But yeah, give us your prediction, Cam. Who will be the best goalie at the 2026 World Junior Championship?
So this is really difficult for me because I don't know who's going to be the guy. But I landed on Carter George. I went with Carter George. I mean, he was great last year. He had like a 940 last year at the WJC, right? Like he even looked good in the AHL at the tail end of his last season. I think he had a shutout and a couple wins or something like that too. So he's a big game goalie, and I think he's going to be a big game goalie for the Canadians. I got the Canadians winning gold. I think that's an easy line to follow. This team wins gold. They're going to have good goaltending. That goalie is going to be the top goalie at the event. Now we could see a guy just go banana pancakes and stop 45 every night and steal it even if they don't win gold. But I'm going with Carter George.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly have been leaning that direction myself. I think Carter George is the guy that, is he's the safety valve, as we talked about. And Jack Ivankovic can be that too, but he can also be that for them next year. And I think, with Carter George, you can't put anything that happened to Canada last year on him. You can't put anything last year on Ivankovic. They both played well when they were in there and didn't get what they needed from their teammates. And so for me, it's also Carter George. My sneaky, kind of like, if we're going to, throw a little more love out there, I really think Luve Herenstam is, if he's great, Sweden has a chance. And I think he'll ultimately be the guy that gets the trust to be the guy. So I'll go with Luve Herenstam as my number 2, but Carter George, Consensus.
Consensus.
And I have a feeling the defenseman is going to be consensus too.
I don't think
Carter
so.
George. All right, let's see. We'll see.
Okay.
All right, so
All right.
I'm alternating so that we get
Yes,
both.
please.
Each get
You
to
go
first and
first.
second here. Top defenseman for the tournament at the 2026 World Junior Championship, as voted on by the directorate, which is all the teams, their leadership gets together and they vote for these awards, and all throughout history you get a nice watch and all sorts of other stuff. But the top defenseman for me on home ice, Cole Hudson. I think Cole is the key to USA's success. He is the driver. He is the pilot. He is the whatever you want to call him. He's the guy. If he's not the guy, then
that's trouble.
And he's not going, they're going to be in real trouble. He did lead Team USA in points last season with 11. Even though I thought Zeev Buium was probably the most important defenseman for them, but Cole Hudson was right there. And Cole Hudson is a driver. He is a legitimate driver. He takes over shifts. I think he's going to wow people in this tournament. He is going to be a big key factor. Cole Hudson's my Directorate Award winner. Cam, who you got? Are we staying consensus?
I forgot that he didn't win it last year.
Right.
They gave it to ASP. ASP.
Oh. Yeah.
Right? I think I voted Vilander even ahead of. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're not going consensus. We're not. Now I will say,
all right.
I had a conversation with someone this morning. I was talking to an agent and I was like, I'm so torn. I got to pick these winners. And I came down to 3 guys for me. Cole Hudson, absolutely one of them. I think there's a very good chance that he could be the guy this year. I think Harrison Brunick could be the guy this year too. I think that he's going to play huge minutes for Canada, but I'm not picking him either. And I gave a little smoke out there earlier. I think it's Radim Murtka. I think that the Czechs push deep. I think he plays a ton of minutes. I think he's on their top power play. I think he's doing everything that he does in Seattle right now, where it's just everything kind of runs through him on that blue line. He's such a horse that I also don't want to go clean sweep for the Canadians because we rarely see a clean sweep for the directorates. I'm going with Radim the Dream Murtka for the top D this year. Yes,
I love it. Yeah, I didn't expect it. I didn't see it coming. Yep. I thought you telegraphed it a little bit earlier with Cole Hudson. But I was like, to me, really Cole was kind of the only, he's probably gonna have 16 points by the time
break the record.
He's gonna what's that?
Break the record. The all-time tournament record's 14. I have him. That's one of my bold takes. Is that he breaks the record this year too? Yeah. I think I can. Yeah, and then of course you get it. Yeah.
It's so and the thing about Cole Hudson that I've always obviously Lane comes first. You start looking at Lane, you see the different things Lane does. Then you see Cole come along. You're like, there's just no way he can match that, right?
Another one
he has.
Yeah.
It's nuts. So.
And he's got a bit of a chip too, to best his brother, right? He's got that.
I love it.
It's there. That is definitely
it drives
there.
him. It drives him. There is absolutely a little brother thing that, and I'll tell you what, Cole, I think he's a lot different to the media than he is behind the scenes, from what I understand. But there is definitely a chip, and he wears it proudly. So, all right. Okay, now here's the big one, Cam. So you're going to have to go first on this one, and I'm glad you're going first because I don't know. This may be a spur-of-the-moment decision by me because I'm not quite sure which way I'm going yet. But,
oh, man.
Top forward. So give me your prediction for top forward in this tournament.
First off, I'd like to say that I love that you're going to go off the cuff. That's like me at a restaurant when I don't know what I'm going to order, and I just wait for the waitress to get to me, and then I just...
Yep.
Just see what the gut's feeling. Hey, just feel the gut. I am prepared. I looked up the menu before coming on the show, picked exactly what I wanted. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to order. Let's get our drinks going too here. I'm going Porter Martone for the top forward this year. Porter Martone for the top forward. I think he is going to be a horse. Did I take him from you? Was that your guy? I took him from you. I like
Well, I
that. That
mean,
makes me feel even
he's
better.
one of those menu items I was glancing at before, like
Right.
is
And I
like,
mean, we can have the same
yeah,
thing. We just don't get to share plates anymore because we don't get a taste of each other's. But I'm
yeah,
going with Porter. I
yeah.
think nobody's transitioned better from the CHL to the NCAA than Martone. I think he's been, if not the best player, one of the best players in college hockey this year, especially for Michigan State. I think he's going to play a frontline role. Obviously, he's a returning player. He's got the size. He might be the best passer at this event. I'm all in on Porter Martone. I think Porter's going to have himself a monster tournament, and he's going to win the top forward award and a gold medal.
I mean, Canada's top line, whether it's a Ginla or McKenna or whoever else, it doesn't really matter. They're both like, those are guys that are, you give them the puck, they will do something good with it, right? Like that's,
Yeah.
so it's but then also Porter's going to drive a lot on his own. All right, well, here we go. So I know you mentioned, like, if this guy is their best forward, this might not be a good thing for them.
Ooh, here we go.
Ivar Stenberg. Give me Ivar Stenberg.
Stenberg.
I'm going to say, so I think Sweden's going to be in the gold medal game. I've
Love
said
it.
that before, and that's why, we'll see. And I think you're right. They just as easily could be out of the medals. Like, it's just, they just as easily could be. But like, I do think, like, you look at the points that I think Sweden will be able to put up against some of those lesser opponents on their side of the bracket. The fact that he's going to get really cushy opportunities on the power play. He's going to be a downhill guy for them on the power play. He's going to be, really looking as a shooter. I think guys are going to be looking for him. I think his skating can be a separating factor for him as he at this level in terms of the players that he's going to go head to head against. So give me Stenberg. I was leaning Martone before for sure. But the guys that were floating in my mind were mostly Canadians and Swedes, and I'm getting a little bit scared about Anton Frundell not looking amazing in these pre-tournament games. I'm getting a little bit, and a continuation of his games internationally last year. But I think if you look at Ivar Stenberg, he's going to be absolutely pointing it up. And then you still have to point it up in the next stage. And so I'll go with Ivar Stenberg as my pick for Directorate Award. And lastly,
wait.
So
I have
those
a
are
question.
by the director.
I have a question. I have a very
Yes,
important
please.
question. It's very important.
Please.
If Ivar is the top forward at this event, is he walking away from this tournament as the consensus number one?
Ooh, I mean,
It's going to be
a much deeper discussion. I mean, like, you think about, we've said it before, like Nico Hischier walked out of a World Juniors with kind of everybody saying, "Oh, this guy's the guy." In a draft year with a lot of uncertainty, and that's what we have this year. So I think if Stenberg has the performance where he's driving, and if he can drive Sweden to a win, absolutely, we're going to be starting talking to him about that. Because I think that's what it'll take. But as we go, if he does that, it seems like that would be we just don't have a lot of certainty in the draft right now.
It's tough, right?
Stuff like that is sure, he's the next guy.
Yeah.
There can be there's gonna be like 5 number ones before this draft is over. I'm pretty convinced.
Beautiful.
Of it. So, but anyway, so the directorates that's voted on people that aren't the media. We actually get a say in the MVP of the tournament. So I'm going to go ahead and throw it back to you, Cam. Or actually, I have to go first this time since I went first or second last time. MVP of the tournament. Now, MVP gets voted on a little bit later than the Directorate Award. So I think you get a little bit more runway. And so you can you turn in your votes. I think it's like after the first 10 minutes of the first. I think it's later now. I think they fixed it this year where you can
end of the second period, isn't it?
At the end of the second period, which it used to be like the first 10 minutes
vote.
So with that, when you put that into the mix, then my MVP is going to be Porter Martone, because now you've got I do think Canada, and will he show like I think the MVP really weighs much more heavily on what you do in the medal round, or at least it should, like what you do in the playoff round, hey, it's the media that votes on it. It's usually the guy with the most points. Not always the right decision, but I'm going to go MVP Porter Martone. Who do you got?
It's a clean sweep. We're going Porter here too. I mean, if I picked him for top four, it'd be funny if the MVP was not one of the top four D or goaltenders, though, right? Like that's just
It
like
seems to happen often.
it does, right?
So
And it's silly
yeah,
when it does. But I mean, you're right. And I hate that this is electronic. Like, let us vote with like as soon as the game's over. You can tabulate it in
yeah,
1 second and get that out there. Because remember the U18s in Finland, we had to vote, and we're like, okay. I mean, the Americans are up in the gold medal game. James Haggins has the most points in the tournament ever. Okay, I'm voting for James Haggins. Then the third period comes along. We're like, oh, here comes Gavin. And he rips off the hat trick. Canada wins gold. And then it's like, okay, James, here's your MVP award. Suck on that. And he's just like so sad. And it's like, it should have been Gavin's, but we had to vote late. So that's my one. That not feeding us and not letting me vote after the game. Those are my two biggest gripes.
You've heard it here first.
The
The media begins with me. The media begins with
me.
So
I just want some food.
Yes.
Give me some protein.
I like. I'm hungry right now. All right, Cam. By some act of God, I've survived the podcast and gotten us to our last segment, our final segment, and that is, of course, our medal predictions. And I want us to go a little bit like, go ahead and provide a little extra rationale, if you will. We've done a lot already, but just why it will happen this way. So I'm going to give you the choice, dealer's choice. Are you going first or are you going second?
I'm going second. I want to hear you. I want to hear yours first.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. I like where you're at. All right. Second. Sounds good. And I think ours will be different, but either way. So I'm going first. So my prediction for this is the podium finish. Bronze medal on home ice. USA takes home a little hardware. It's not what they wanted, but they managed to salvage it on home ice, get over the disappointment. You know, that's not an ideal result, but we've seen them do it before. That's what happened in Buffalo. Tough loss, followed it up with a great effort. There's something to play for here. Continue a medal streak, stuff like that. Silver medal, Sweden. I would love to tell you there was an upset coming just because I really want it for the Swedes. I like the Swedes. I like dealing with them. I like watching them play hockey. I like what they've built over the years. I like the way they develop hockey players. Unfortunately, that's not really that's not how this has gone on. To me, it comes down to Carter George for Canada being the best of the goalies, giving them their power play being a difference maker, their defense being strong enough and among the stronger D-cores in the tournament. And then you have that offensive firepower. I think it would be a closer game. I think it could potentially be a higher scoring game. But quite frankly, whether it happens in the gold medal game or not, I desperately want to see Canada versus the Sweden team. I just think that that's the best matchup on paper. I want to see USA versus Canada too. I want to see both of them. And with this option, I think I get both of them.
You get both.
Because I think I'll get both. So that's what I got. So I've got Canada 1. I've got Sweden 2, USA 3 at the 2026 World Juniors. Cam, what do you got?
I like that because I too want to see Canada, US, Canada, Sweden. We get USA, Sweden already, right? In the round robin. That sounds great to me. That sounds like some fun games to be a part of. I'm going at the top, winning gold here. Denmark. I'm just kidding. Okay, so in the 3-hole, I already said it. I think the Americans, like you, I think the Americans come home with bronze. I think that they show up, even though it's hard. It's hard to show up for those bronze medal games, but I think they do it and they pull it out over the Swedes. I've got the Czechs bringing home a silver medal. That's the surprise here. That's the surprise this week. The Czechs are coming home with a silver. So that would be 2 silvers in 4 years, 4 straight medals. Whew. It's big time for the Czechs. And then I got the Canadians. I got them winning it. And I think they might have a couple of hiccups early on in the event where you're like, that's not exactly running on full tilt here with everything clicking, especially with the NHLers, with Zane being injured, coming off an injury, Michael being, Mies coming off an injury. I think that they're going to it's just going to be a little off. But they've got the horses this year. They have the horses. They have the blue line. They have the goaltending. That's just, there's no excuses. I think that this team can underperform and still win gold. So I'm going Canada, Czechia, USA. Swedes coming in 5. or 4, I should say.
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's good. I mean, hey, I like it. I like it when it's different. And I think that, what I say all the time is you can have, all these predictions and everything else and say this is how it's going to be. You really don't know until the puck drops and what's going to
Oh,
happen. And as we like, who would have ever thought Latvia would ever beat Canada in this event? Ever.
yeah.
And who would have thought, yeah, I mean, like there have been, I think US lost to Belarus one year. Like it's like it happens, and there are all these great things. The
That's
moral
why
of
we
the
play the
story
games.
is if you are, yeah, the moral of the story is if you're able to and you're in the St. Paul area, go get to these
Get out.
games. USA is in, USA is in Grand Casino Arena. Canada is in 3M at Mariucci Arena. So, you gotta see some of this live and up close because hey, that's what it's all about. Cam, we got a lot coming up, man. We're gonna have that live podcast on January 2nd on quarterfinal game day. But tell us what you guys got cooking up here at Elite Prospects as we get set for the World Juniors.
Yeah, everything is World Juniors focused right now. All of all our social media, all our articles, like everything we're pumping out. Like I said, I've got the hot takes article coming out tomorrow morning, which will be Tuesday morning. I'm hopping on the NHL Network pre-tournament show to get everything fired up there too, so that's going to be exciting. Yeah, if you wall-to-wall coverage, all our Meet the Team series, if you want to get to know who's what for every single team, breaking it down, every single player on the roster, that's where you want to be going, and we got you set up. So, and then it'll be great coverage throughout. We got Sean Shapiro on early. I'm jumping in to meet up with them. We got one of our new scouts there, Whitaker. He's going to be on site too. So load the scouting reports and feature articles. I'm going to write a feature on Vigo Bjork. I got some stuff cooking with Porter Martone, the soon-to-be MVP of the tournament, if predictions hold. So yeah, it's going to be a ton of content and a lot of fun.
Well, I can't wait for that. And certainly we got a lot coming your way from FloHockey. We'll have on-site coverage as well throughout the entire tournament. And just to, Cam, throughout this entire show, I mean, I pretty much had Elite Prospects up the entire time on the roster pages because,
Wonderful.
I mean, hey, that's where you're going to be, right? But we're also going to have a lot of on-site coverage. I'll be there. Liz Child will be there. And then we will be doing a lot of stuff on the ground following both USA and Canada and obviously Sweden as well. And we'll have lots of great coverage for you. As I mentioned, FloHockey will have a booth at the Fan Expo. You guys will not want to miss that. Lots of fun coming. We'll also be doing some content over there. I'll be posting up over there for some meet and greets and stuff like that as well. And I promise I'll be healthy by then so that I don't infect the masses here and make it a super spreader event. I promise. If anybody's listening, I promise. But also, while we're away, there's a lot of great stuff happening on FloHockey, including the Cactus Cup, which will feature UMass Lowell, St. Cloud State, Minnesota State Mankato, and Yale. We will have great coverage for that. Our own Devin Horan will be one of the sideline reporters for that event, and we'll have great college hockey on top of that. And then, obviously, as always, AHL, ECHL, USHL, OHL, QMJHL, BCHL, AJHL, all that stuff coming up. Lots of great events. Lots that you're going to want to see. So make sure you are subscribed to FloHockey as soon as you possibly can because you will get all the great content that we have coming for you now and all the way through the playoffs and everything else. So make sure you're subscribed. Great value. Get that annual plan and enjoy more hockey than you can find anywhere else on the internet. Cam, that's going to do it, pal. I hope you guys have a very Merry Christmas, a super fun holiday. I will see you before the new year. And we'll celebrate on January 2nd as we get ready for quarterfinal day and a live called up. So, buddy, I hope all the best, man. I hope you have a great holiday season here.
Thanks, bud. You too. Yeah, enjoy the time with the family, and then we'll see you in Mini.
Yeah. All right. Well,